Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Alan's Allotment. It's Sunday, the 7th of November 2021. Right, let's start off the video with some positivity. So, a bit of an update from what's been going on over the last few weeks. All my kids and grandkids are now over COVID. Tony and Andrew, my son-in-law and my son, had a pretty rough time. Andrew's also asthmatic. So he had a bit of a rough time with it, but he's managed to overcome it, thankfully, and he's now back at work. Michelle is also over it. They've all got the tiredness and the symptoms that linger after the illness has hit you. And somehow, miraculously, Ty did escape it entirely. He's also back at school now. Obviously, they took lateral floors before they sent Ty back to school. Since the last video we put up, I actually was even more ill than I was prior to the last video. I was getting severe heart palpitations for no reason whatsoever. I would be sitting watching television comfortably and my heart rate was just start racing up to about 137 sitting still. So much so in the concern that I rang 111. I then got called back by a doctor and was assessed, who seemed to think that everything was okay after asking me a series of questions. Now, I'd also phoned the doctors 2 days before, and I knew a doctor was phoning me again later that afternoon, my own doctor. So when he phoned up, I gave him all the symptoms, yet again, being sick, feeling lightheaded, palpitations for no known reason. It isn't as though I've been running round the block or anything like that, and there was no explanation for this. And he immediately said, right, well, I need to see you. And he duly booked 3 appointments for me on the spot. One to go and get an ECG, which thankfully showed up fine at the time, but then I felt fine at the time. I didn't have the heart palpitations. And then he gave me a second appointment to go and get some full blood count done the following day. And then on Friday, 2 days ago, I finally got to see a doctor. And I was in there for 45 minutes with a really thorough examination. The blood results had all came back. My cholesterol levels were through the roof. The thyroid and all the rest of it was all, how did they term it? Satisfactory. But my white cells, the white blood cells were a bit high, which suggested there was some form of an infection or a lingering after effect of COVID. However, I was diagnosed with long COVID. And apparently the palpitations and heart racing can be a symptom of long COVID. I'm not sure about why I was feeling sick, but occasionally it would be before meals, sometimes after meals, and sometimes in between meals. Thankfully that subsided somewhat, but I was a little bit like that yesterday, but only very, very briefly this time. But after examination and listening to my chest and my lungs and all the rest of it, they prescribed me some antibiotics. And I had to start that course yesterday with 2 tablets the first day and then 1 a day for the next 7 days. And I don't know if it's just coincidental or not, but since taking those 2 tablets yesterday, it wasn't until about tea time yesterday I started to feel a little bit better. But I didn't know whether it was just coincidental or not, or whether I was already over the worst and was fighting it anyways. However, I'm going to give some credit to the antibiotics. So we've taken another one this morning, and we'll continue and take the entire course. But what I can tell you is I do feel a lot better at the moment. So much so that when I've had this cup of coffee, I'm going to go out and at least try and cover some of those beds over in the growing area to stop the weeds getting any worse. I'll pick out the worst of the weeds and then we'll cover them over with some plastic. And even if I get nothing else done today, then that'll be a good job in itself. It's getting pretty urgent now, so I need to get them covered over, because if I continue to feel ill, I'm not going to be able to do anything else. So I need to get them covered over and get them put to sleep for winter. That'll be one thing less to worry about. and then depending on time, etc. I did have a bit of a lay-in this morning, so it's 11 AM. I don't know how much I'm going to get done, but I'll try and get that done, and if I can, I'll go in and maybe scrape one or two of the lofts out, and maybe even move some of those stock cocks that we're keeping, start putting them into this stock loft right next to me, to start picking the boxes out like we suggested in an earlier video, leaving the ones that are all established in this loft with a box, and put them in last once the other birds have settled down. But I don't know how it's going to go, but yeah, stay with me and we'll see what happens. Right guys, we're over in the growing cage, and as you can see, the kale is still doing really well, thankfully. We did put slug pellets down here last week because the cabbages are being attacked. I'm not sure why. Nothing appears to be attacking these anymore, and they're really coming on well. It's only slow growing, obviously, because of the time of year, but we are getting some picks off the kale, and it's very nice. It really is. I had actually never used to eat kale, but I've tried some of this, and it's really nice, and I'll definitely grow it again. These appear to be now still growing well, but slowly, and they do still be getting a little bit of an attack. However, they're predominantly okay. We thinned them out a little bit, took some good leaves off a couple of weeks ago, and they're fine. The rhubarb chard is still going on, the chard per se, and some of it looks quite healthy. Obviously you're going to get some damage, guys, but some are doing better than others. We picked a lot of leaves off these, so we probably set them back, so I'm just leaving them now. But as you can see, all the spring cabbages that we planted, well, they're just getting annihilated by something. In spite of putting slug pellets down and spraying all of these with insecticide again, they are still getting eaten by something. There's two at the end. That's the size they should be now. And those two were doing well, but as you can see, they're now starting to get attacked as well. I'm sort of tempted to dig the best of them out and transplant them into the polytunnel just to see if we can't salvage one or two of these. Some are doing still relatively okay in spite of the damage, and some are really getting eaten. Now, looking at this, the way this is cut across here, I'm going to say it's slugs, in spite of putting slug pellets down. But the amount of rain that we've had recently, it's hardly surprising that the slugs are still about. However, I thought the slug pellets would have put paid to them, but they obviously keep coming back. So we obviously need to get this strawberry bed all cut back and tidied up when we feel like it. But what I have managed to do is I've finally managed to get the beds covered over, and we've got plastic cut to the right size to go in the beds. Didn't have much plastic left, but we had enough to do this, and I've put posts on and anything I could pretty much find that had a bit of weight about it, and I've got those on top of the beds to keep the plastic and hold it in place, and hopefully try and keep some of these weeds at bay. Just tuck that down a little bit more, but yeah, hopefully that's going to keep the beds at bay predominantly. You can see this big mound of wood shavings and everything. I'm not bothered about this at the moment, guys. I just want to get some little bits and pieces done. This strawberry bed was absolutely prolific, but what I'm going to do at some point is I'm going to cut all the foliage back, and I'm going to extract these plants back out of here and pot them up, possibly put them in the greenhouse just to overwinter them. Redress this bed and top it up with compost. You can see how far it's dropped down, and then we might put them back out again next spring. Sorry about the wind, guys. Likewise with this, we're going to take some of these runners and probably plant some of those up as well. These particular strawberries are the ones I got from Morrison's, so they're absolutely beautiful. Some of the best strawberries I've ever tasted. They really are. They're just like how strawberries used to be when I was a kid. So we've got another one. We've got this bed all dressed up as well with plastic now as well, couple of little pallets and bricks and whatever just to hold the plastic down and in place, hopefully just to keep it all at bay, guys. This is all the Brussels and everything we pulled out a couple of weeks ago, and we started stripping this bed back. I'm going to hopefully try and rip all these carrots out now, give this a bit of a weeding, and all those little trees over there and the couple I've got over in the Polytunnel, we're going to get them planted in this bed here. They're all dwarf trees, so we'll get them all planted in this bed when we get that sorted. So into the treehouse, and you can see that the ground is now starting, the membranes are starting to dry off a bit now. We've still been getting lots of rain, but not to the extent we were getting it. And thankfully this is still a little bit on the pale side, but we have still got 3 lemons on there, and I think it's 2 there. But they're a little tad darker now than they were, the leaves, so hopefully that's going to recover. But what I have noticed is on the mandarins, we appear to be getting some white flower on the mandarins, on this mandarin. Again, I'm not liking this pale new growth, because I think it's overwatering. But we have got flowers coming on, which probably is a sign that, yeah, it's doing okay overall. You can see how pale this one still is in spite of me giving it a feed because of the amount of water it's had. But hopefully that's going to come too. Likewise with these, but I think these have used the nutrition up in spite of feeding them. They want repotted. That's the orange and lemon from last year's little transplants. This one here is yellowing particularly bad. This is the orange. Again, probably as a result of overwatering, and you can see that's quite sodden, that, guys. They really don't like the feet wet too long, citrus. But I just haven't been well enough to do anything about it. It does look like all these just died back and they didn't produce any fruit. We might just cut that lot out when we have time. It is still in flower somehow, but again, it's absolutely sodden down there, unless the weather starts to dry out a little bit. My poor apricot tree is been suffering, obviously, but it's gone the opposite direction because this one's up on the flags. It's a bit on the dry side, so we need to give that a bit of a water. I'll give that a water in a couple of minutes. All of the nectarines and peaches are doing what they're supposed to. These leaves are supposed to drop off. I'm not worried about these, there's nothing wrong. This is what does happen with these at this time of year. And as you can see, they're all dropping off. They will go back to bare root. That is perfectly natural for peaches and nectarines. And then we'll clean all up all this mess. Again, it's just finding the time and being well enough to do it, guys. I'm not sure how much more I'm going to get done today, but we'll give it a go. Little fig trees hanging on, I don't know how, but it is. It seems to be a bit too wet as well, guys. But I'm led to believe these do drop all their leaves as well. Let me know in the comments below if you think that is correct. That's the information I have, but I'm not 100%. So yeah, just a quick tour in here. And then last but not least, over in the growing area, we managed to get this other big bed put to sleep for winter as well, guys. So we've got that covered over as well and weighted down. And at least that's 1, 2, 3, 4 beds done, and we can pretty much just forget about those ones now, and hopefully that's going to keep the weeds at bay to stop anything germinating over the winter period. You can see I never ever got these peas took out. Sorry about the wind, guys. I'm trying to show you as best I can. The turnips are growing, but it looks like they're worm ridden already. I'm probably going to pull these out again and put this bed to sleep as well. I'm not sure whether that'll be today or next weekend or whatever. I want to try and get a bit done in the pigeon lofts now. But yeah, that's just a a bit of a quick update over here. Right guys, I've come over to the Polytunnel now and done a little bit in here, and you can see I've put the bench back down in here now. Brought some little seed trays over, some gardening gloves, some labels, etc. And what I've done now is I've actually planted some more lettuce, red and green, and some more spring onions. And the reason for that is because these lettuce never germinated either in the bed, for whatever reason. So I'm doing one final test in the normal method to see if these are the little trees also that need to go over into the ground, into that bed when we get that done and weeded. But no lettuce there, and no lettuce in that first line that we planted weeks ago. And I'm not sure whether the seed has gone bad or whether they just don't want to get going in there. Our beetroot, we've got some, but not a lot, but those thinned out, wants to get a bit bigger, will potentially give us a small harvest. I'm probably going to pull all the radish out. They're just not doing anything at all. Probably a little bit late with these. I might give them another week or so just to see what happens. Now I found 2 red lettuces that I planted ages ago, and I left them in the trays. They never ever got planted out, and they're still alive, so I decided I would give them a chance, and we put them in the bed here in the Polytunnel. If they do anything, great, we get a bit of salad leaf. If they don't, well, nothing lost, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You can see now the garlic is all started to sprout very successfully, and most of them are now through. Not all, but most of them have now popped through. 1 or 2 little bald areas around here, but most have started to germinate. This little area here, we did, as I said, we put in a red bulb from the year before, and I can see they're now starting to germinate. They've took longer to come through, but I can see that they are now starting to germinate. So yeah, there's one over there as well. So they potentially are still going to come through. So we're going to leave them another week or so. They've took longer to germinate than the fresh garlic that we bought this year. But yeah. So we've got some more carrots and some more spring onions on the go. We'll wait and see what happens with them in 7 to 10 days. Hopefully we'll get something through this time. The leeks, we're getting quite a lot of those. There's some more actually starting to pop up now. I'm quite pleased with that. We can just leave them to just pop up slowly, thin them out and transplant them once they get sort of pencil size, guys. Likewise with these spring onions. And there is a few, so those are the red onions, and there's some white ones in here as well. But we've also set off some more spring onions in there. So yeah, that's just a bit of an update in here as well, guys. I'm going to move on to the pigeons now and scrape 1 or 2 lofts out and move the birds. Right guys, we're just in the stock loft here now. And what we've done is we've basically cleaned all this out, the perches that were done. And there was 9 available boxes. And what I've done now is I've moved 8 of the pigeons into this loft to start finding a box. 1 or 2 already have established themselves a box. So I've got the pencil race cock. He's never ever had a nest of youngsters, so I'm going to take some young ones off him this year. So we've brought him in here because we're keeping him anyways. And then the rest, the majority of the rest, are frill stencil cocks. And 2 milkies. That cock there is split for brown. He's out of the Lebanon drippy wing cock with the brown satinate hen, so he carries brown genes. And we're hoping to get a brown frill stencil if we pair him to a frill stencil hen this year. And then we've got the young milky, yet another cock that I've found in the hens section. I had seen it treating all the hens in the hens loft, so we've brought it in here. It's just another cock that we didn't plan on, but we've kept it anyways, guys. And as you can see, they're still all over the place. 1 or 2 have now selected a box, but some of them are still trying to find a box. So another bit of an update. It's another little bit job, guys. 2 milkers in here, the pencil cock, and the rest are frill stencils. And then of course there's the other 6 cocks that are already established to come in here. So we've brought 8 cocks into here. There is 9 boxes. We'll let them select which boxes they want and close the last one off. Right guys, as you can see, I'm really pleased with the progress I got done today. I've even got that stock loft cleaned out next to me, and I've got 8 pigeons put in there ready to start finding the box. Now we'll leave them in a fortnight, 3 weeks or something like that, till they're absolutely certain of the boxes and stick in the ground with them. Then we'll reintroduce the other 6 cocks back in there, and by then hopefully things will just settle down. There'll be a little bit of scuffling about for a day or two, and then they will just settle themselves back out, and hopefully that's a good job ready for next breeding season. I've got quite a bit done and I'm pleased with what I have got done. I'm still not too bad, so I'm just going to have this cup of coffee here, and then perhaps I'm going to go back out and scrape a couple of drop boards down on some of the other lofts. I might do them all, time permitting, and that's another job basically guys. There's only the perches want a quick scrape and the drop boards scraped off, and that'll be them good for another week or two. While I'm feeling like I can do it, I probably will. I won't video that or go any further than this. This is the final roundup. So just another note on the palpitations of feeling sick. I've actually been like that for over 2 weeks, and I haven't had just one round of the palpitations. It's been ongoing, but I would maybe twice in a day, then I'd miss a couple of days, and then it'd start again, etc, etc, etc. But thankfully, in touch wood, since the last episode, it hasn't happened again since. Excuse me. But all I can tell you is it's really frightening when it does. However, I'm feeling much better today than I have for quite a considerable time. And whilst I am, I'm going to get back out and finish cleaning out those lofts, and get it done while I feel like it. I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers, new and old, all the likes, comments and dislikes. I really do appreciate it guys. I know sometimes the videos are a little bit on the boring side, and that's just how life deals us. The things that come along, and so they can't all be good. Thanks for sticking with me. I really do appreciate it. And for now, wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, be practical, keep yourselves out of harm's way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.